So yesterday what we learned how to do is take the slope-intercept formula, which again is y equals mx plus b. Again, make sure you're starting to memorize that formula. To identify slope, we then use the slope to create the line. So when we had this part here, instead of them telling us what the slope is, we had to look at this equation, recognize that slope is the number attached to x, which means our slope, again, which is m, is 2/5. And then we would go to the point and use this to say, okay, let's go up to and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from there, you just connect those 2 points with a ruler. Have to use a ruler. Otherwise, it doesn't look right. And then everything else is good. What some of you might not have noticed is that the first point was always on the y-axis. All right, as we've experienced over a few days, this is called a y-intercept. And so, even more interesting is that the letter b, which again in y equals mx plus b, which is this letter, tells us where to put the point. Look at that problem again to see if you make the connection, and here it is. We know that that's our slope, but if you look at the +3, you went up 1, 2, 3. Let's look at the sheet from yesterday really quickly. That's a +3. Look, 1, 2, 3. This was a -4, so you went down because it's negative 1, 2, 3, 4. This is -5, so you went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the origin. Here, this is +4, so from the origin you went 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is -2, so from here you went down 2, and here again is +3, so from the origin you went up 3. So, with that being the case and everything being connected, the slope-intercept formula, again, y equals mx plus b, we know that m represents slope. We used that yesterday. But today what you're going to learn to do is use b as your y-intercept. We are not going to give you that first point, but you have to find your first point by simply using the letter b, or your y-intercept. Again, the problems won't give you anything to start, but you will have to use the equation to find your starting point. As we said yesterday, you have to find information from an abstract source. Abstract meaning it's not just given to you, and from there you will be fine. So again, here we go. Use the equation to create the line. Here we have this equation. We do not have a point to start from, but you can find that by recognizing m and b. So m in this case is 3/4 because that's what's attached to x. b is 1. However you need to practice it to memorize it, just remember we always start with b. I can't do a slope until I have a starting point. Your starting point comes from the number 1, which means go 1 up. From there now we go up 3 and over 1, 2, 3, 4. Put our dot and finish the problem. Very simple, as long as you practice it. All right. Y equals 2/5 x minus 3. Again, in this case, your m, or your slope, is 2/5. Your b, or your y-intercept, is -3. This is where we start, because again, we don't have a starting point. So you go here, and if b is -3, that means go down 3. Put your dot. From there, we want to go rise of 2, run of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put your second point and be done. Number 3, y equals 1/4 x plus 2. Again, your slope is 1/4. Your y-intercept is 2. Notice I don't say m and b all the time, because when you see m, you should think slope. When you see b, you should think y-intercept. This again is our starting point. It tells us to go up 2 and put a dot, so we do that. 1/4 means rise of 1, run of 4, always to the right, no matter what. Negative just means go down instead of up, but you will always run to the right. And that would be my picture. Again, make sure your line goes all the way across the region. Number 4, on this, at least on our note guide as it was, again, with this, our m is -3/5. Our b is -1. So again, the b tells us to go down 1, not up 1, because it's negative. And then -3/5 means go down 3, 1, 2, 3. But you'll still go right 5 to finish everything up. And that's all. Number 5. M is -3/2. B is 4. With that being the case, we have this problem again. B is 4, so that means you're going to use your y-intercept of 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 3 halves means you're going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 2. And then go from there. Again, remember, if you're having issues with any of this stuff, you need to either talk to me in person, or you need to send me an email so I know that you exist with a problem and I can try to help you figure your way out of it. Maybe I can tell you something that you're doing wrong. Whatever it is, I can probably help you out, but you got to make sure you talk to me or whoever your teacher might be at the time. Here, m is negative 5/3, b is 6. Again, if b is 6, that's our first number, so we go up 6 because it's positive. Negative 5/3 means from this point we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 3, and then we draw our line. Number 7 is something you haven't seen, at least on the notes. We saw it in class. M is 3, b is negative 2. So yes, we still start with b, which means go down 2. The problem with having an m of 3 is that slope m is rise over run, and we don't have a second number. The way you make that second number is by putting it over 1, because if you think about it, 3 divided by 1 is 3. Use your calculator and check that, or use your phone and check that, but 3 divided by 1 is still 3. That means my rise is 3, but my run is 1. What you don't ever want to do when you have to do a rise over run is just leave one number, because otherwise you end up doing it wrong. And if you just did the 3 and rose 3 and did not move over, that will give you a line that went straight up and down, which is not the line that you need to have. So again, just kind of make sure you're ready to take your time on that stuff. Here again, m is negative 2, b is 5. Using the b first because that's my y-intercept, we go up to 5. If m is negative 2, I adjust that to a fraction, so I have a rise and run. Negative 2 over 1 means go down 2 and over 1, and then we wrap this up and finish it off. Y equals 5x minus 4. M is 5, b is negative 4. Again, the negative 4 means go down 4. M of 5 means, again, 5 over 1, so up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, and that's that. Y equals negative 4x minus 1. In this case, m is negative 4, b is negative 1. Use the negative 1 first to go down 1. Negative 4 again means negative 4 over 1, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4 down, 1 over, and wrap this up. Again, it's not that hard of a process. You want to make sure you try to get on the ball soon, because if you don't, things are definitely about to start getting tougher. On this case, which again we saw it in class, but just be careful. There is no number attached to x, but there is a number attached to x, and what I usually say is, how many p's do you see here? Of course you would say 1. How many m's do you see here? Of course you would say 1. How many z's do you see here? You would say 1. That's because there is an invisible 1 in front of those. If there were supposed to be 3 p's, I would have put 3p. If there were supposed to be 7 m's, I would have put 7m. If there were supposed to be 10 z's, I would have put 10z. But me simply putting the letter x automatically means that there is 1 x. So therefore, with that said, m is 1. Whenever you just have a regular x with no number in front, that is a 1. And so your b is negative 2. Again, you'll go down and put your dot. And since this is a 1 over 1, you go up 1 over 1. And you wrap this up and finish it off. All right. So with that being the case, you're being asked to look beyond the level of the information. Again, consider the line created by this equation. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters long. Y equals 3x minus 2. That's 6 characters. But there's a lot of information inside of that, which first is you have to look at the negative 2 and recognize that this is your y-intercept, which tells you to go down 2. You have to look at the 3 and recognize this is your slope. Not only that, you have to take that 3 and adjust it to be 3 over 1. These are all things you have to know right when you look at it. Otherwise, what happens is you don't have the information you need and you can't figure it out. So again, all these steps are hidden in the problem. You have to think to find out what you're looking for. So overall, it's a simple process, but again, if you don't practice it, it doesn't work appropriately. So again, one trick question, what's the slope of this equation here? Of course, if y is equal to x minus 4, the slope is attached to x, that is 1. So what's the slope of the equation y equals negative x plus 2? Well, if there's no number but it's still negative, that's still just a negative 1. Okay, so again, ask for help as you need it. We'll practice this process for the rest of the week. Again, if you're out too long, make sure you let me know so I can try to figure out a way to get you your test or quiz so we can keep your grades where they need to be. But outside of that, I'll talk to you later, and good luck.